Lone Wolf Show. Lone Wolf Show.
Hey, Harold.
White Raven.
You're not.
Lone Wolf Show. What?
I know we have Sue on today.
Yeah.
From Primal Rhythm.
Yeah, Primal Rhythm. Yeah.
You're not Primal Rhythm.
Yeah, I know, but
You
I've been
should pick up
listening to
your
all the
guitar.
music. I've been listening to music. I stayed up till like 2 o'clock in the morning listening to Primal Rhythm last night. Okay. I got this. I got this. Lone Wolf Show. Lone Wolf Show. Lone Wolf Show. Lone Wolf Show.
That's enough now. Let's get her on here.
Yeah. We got Sue, everybody, from Primal Rhythm with us.
Woo! Hey, everyone. How are you? Good to see you
They're
here.
great.
Rebecca.
Yeah, we're broadcasting live from White Raven. I heard through the grapevine that you have been to White Raven. Is that true?
I have. I have been to White Raven twice. I've had the pleasure to be there for the IPMA Awards. I introduced somebody, I don't remember who. That's funny, but I don't. I'm sorry. And I was there. It was a blur. I drove. The truth of it is, it was a last minute deal. To get to White Raven is about 10, 12 hours from Cleveland. I drove straight through. I asked Alfred and Willow if I could bring my dogs. And they said, yeah. And so I threw my dogs in the truck and I drove straight through. Didn't sleep, went up on stage. They gave me the name of the person I'm supposed to introduce and da-da-da-da-da. I did that, hung out for a couple hours. I got back in the truck and drove home. That was my first experience. It was great. And second time, it was a blessing that Alfred asked Burning Sage to perform. So we performed, and that was a great weekend. We had a great weekend. Gina was there. Melissa Anderson was there. It was a good time. It was a real good time. Oh, and Ginger Ackley was there. Yes, how could I forget? We were just talking about Ginger. She was there as well. Yeah. Good time. So, and that's where you live now. That's awesome. It's a beautiful property.
Mm-hmm. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. So I see an IPR poster in the background.
Right on.
And what's your connection with IPR? International Pagan Radio, that is.
Right on. Yeah, International Pagan Radio. I am blessed to be able to host a Sunday radio show. And I have to share that I absolutely love doing it. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to put together. It's pre-recorded. The monologue of it doesn't take very long at all, with very little editing. Sometimes you can tell that it's very little editing. But the drumming portion of it, I do all the parts myself, usually. And it's a half-hour drum circle. The body of the show is a half-hour drum circle. And so it's 30 minutes, and I'll lay a djembe track, and then I'll lay a 30-minute dundun track. Then I'll lay a 30-minute tambo track. And so depending on how much time I have during the course of the month, because it's a new show every month, is how well developed and how many layers is on this drum circle. But I really, really enjoy the whole process of it. And I love giving back to the community. So I hope that people enjoy it. I do a little drum instruction in there as well. And that kind of just came about on a whim. And same deal. I wing the show. Some of the little drum instructions are just minor, just hey, this is what I'm gonna play. And other times I get a little bit more involved, and I think I mix it up because I think if I have the same listeners monthly, to repeat over and over and over and over. So I'll kind of do a little, hey, this is the bass, this is the tone, this is how I approach it and stuff, and then I'll skip a couple months and then I'll do it again. So that's my thinking there. But yes, I thoroughly enjoy sharing that information with people.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
So you have the IPR poster in the background, but
Yeah.
you mentioned some names that are affiliated with Colgin.net. What do you have any affiliation with Colgin.net?
No. Are we talking about cloud? Am I missing the segue on this?
International Pagan Music Association.
Okay. The IPMA awards, the
Yeah.
IPMA. Yeah, Melissa Anderson, love her. She's a great person. She's
Right.
become a pretty good friend. Really, really supportive. Very supportive. She really supported Burning Sage, and Alfred as well. They've always supported Burning Sage. Now, I'm doing the solo and the ensemble Primal Rhythm, and equally super supportive. Actually, it's not released yet, but I'm going to be on the Witch's Brew cover. Yeah,
Nice.
so I made it to the cover of a magazine. That's awesome. And it's Melissa asked me. She shouted out to me a couple weeks ago, and she said, "Hey, I'd love to have you on the cover of Witch's Brew." And so yeah, I have a really nice bio, which actually it was a real pleasure to do this bio, because I asked her, I said, well, what do you want the storyline to be? And she says, I want your bio. And I said, well, like my pagan music bio? And she said, no, your life bio, your music career bio. I'm like, wow, I haven't talked about that, and we did pre-show a little bit. I haven't talked about that, and so it was just like totally reliving my life, thinking about the early days and the early bands, and I was in a polka band, and I flew to Connecticut. My first recording experience, I was 16 or 17, and I was flown to Connecticut, Le Mans recording studio. That's where we recorded. It was like recording at A&M or Geffen, back in the day. If you were in the polka music scene and you recorded at Le Mans Records, you made it big time. And so I got to fly there and recorded on a record. And the engineer was really nice. And, and I'm a kid, and I went into the engineering box, the booth, and I was hovering over his shoulder. I was really excited about it. And it was fun because he was mixing some stuff down, and I was like, I was like, oh, I'd kind of like to hear that a little louder. And yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking, and so I was kind of like in his ear, and, probably being annoying, but we talked about it. And so that was my first experience. And I actually had a couple influences on the mix. So that was fun. But yeah, I mean, I could, you asked me the wrong question. That question I can take up the whole hour on. So I'll stop. But yeah, it was the Witch's Brew. So look forward to it. I'll probably post it on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
So you mentioned Burning Sage, but you also mentioned which I know your work as Primal Rhythm. Is Burning Sage and Primal Rhythm, is that two different bands?
Yeah. Burning Sage is a power trio. We are or were a tribal rock band that we branded it as a tribal rock band. We went through different phases. We first started out being more traditional rock. I don't want to pigeonhole us, but more, more on a Fleetwood Mac, easier rock, the Fleetwood Mac-ish, easier rock. And then we got really heavy, really heavy, and we got real toolish. We started really writing getting away from the classic feel. The first record was classic, which was, we had a 9-minute anthem. It was more, again, lighter, but it still had a Zeppy feel because of my drum style and my influence and the guitar player we love, But then we went from the classic rock vinyl feel to metal and Tool and heavy. And then the guitar work got more growly and more slamming and just really throwing down like more Sabbath, Tool stuff. And then when we got really we were always pretty popular in the pagan scene because we always played pagan festivals. Well, we played rock bars too. When we first started out, I was driven to get a sign. I was driven, like that's all I thought about. Ridiculously driven to get a sign to Geffen or somebody mainstream, And then we ended up playing Starwood, and we felt, okay, we like this pagan festival thing. And then our last record transitioned into being more tribal rock. And I don't want to say it was lighter because that wouldn't be true. It just was not hard metal. And the lyric content was on a more positive. Lynn started writing more positive messages. And when we were doing the metal, it was a different angle. Her songwriting was coming from a different place. So that's Burning Sage. Love Burning Sage. We're not performing right now, but you can still request us on IPR if you want to hear it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you go onto the International Pagan Radio's website, if you scroll down a little bit, you can personally request Sue Balaschak's Primal Rhythm Jams. Is Burning Sage also on that IPR platform?
Yeah, you can get. That's what I was saying. You could get Burning Sage. Yeah, you could actually. You can. Yeah, it's our last record is on IPR. Burning Sage. Punch that in. At the end of the radio show, I have a Burning Sage song. Goddess Queen is a song that Lynn wrote. That's her songwriting, and I kept it. I think it's a great message, and so I use it. I continue to use it at the end of the drumming ceremony show. Yeah, good stuff.
So you have been scouted to be the front cover of Witch's Brew magazine.
Yeah.
How did that happen? What's the story behind that?
I don't have a story. I don't know. Melissa, I got a ding on my phone, and Melissa Anderson was there, and she said, "Hey," and how's it going? Blah blah. And she said, it was pretty much, "Hey, I want to put you on Witch's Brew. Do you want to be on Witch's Brew?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." and that's all I know. So I'm like, heck yeah. For
So
sure.
at that moment when you got that text, how did you feel?
Well, yeah, it was great. It was a great honor. Anytime, and as you know as well, anytime someone reaches out to you, and I've been doing this my entire life, but I still never, ever, ever take it for granted. I have learned never to take your artistry for granted, your life for granted, for that matter. But when you're an artist, um, and someone reaches out and says, "Hey, we want to interview you," it's an honor. Hey, we want you to do a gig. I mean, during COVID, and I tell this story. I've been telling this story in the last couple of years. All of a sudden, we didn't have any gigs. I've been doing this my whole life. We talked about it earlier. I was in a band when I was 14 years old, and that is who I am. And all of a sudden, what do you mean there's no gigs? Well, shoot, and you lose your identity. You don't have any gigs. It's like all of a sudden there's no purpose, and so a while, I don't know how many months went by and we didn't have a gig. I think a year went by and we didn't have the first year, 2020, didn't have a gig. And I caught wind that a local club down the street opened because Cleveland lifted their curfew. This would be early 2021. Cleveland lifted our curfew, and I called the club owner down there and I go, "Hey, would you book the band come in?" And he said, "Yeah." And it was a local bar. I hadn't played in a bar in a long time because we're doing a festival circuit. And I was so grateful. I was like, oh my God. Actually, I told this story. The first time I told this story was when Cloud interviewed me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I told this story with Cloud. And I said, when I was crossing, and you could probably, mimic word for word. When I was crossing that threshold, walking into that bar, and it's a bar, I'm walking into this bar, I'm crossing that threshold, and I stopped, I paused, and I was like, to the universe, thank you so much for this gig. And it felt so good. And if you scroll on my Facebook page, I even have a picture of me sitting on the stage waiting for sound check. And my blurb underneath it is, "Hey, I've waited a year. I can wait another 10 minutes, But it felt so good to play at the local bar, because a year went by and it's like being robbed of your identity. It was rough. But anyway, why did I bring that up? I don't know. I forgot.
So, Sue, in opinion, as far as pagan community goes, I feel that you are a star drummer within the pagan community.
Thank you.
And which leads me to my next question: who's been your inspiration as far as musicians? Who's mainstream and non-mainstream?
Right on. When I was a kid, I listened to, and this is in my bio, that is going to be in the Witch's Brew. When I was a child, young, I'm talking 10 years old, I loved big band and orchestrated songwriting, which is very unusual for a 10-year-old. I listened to pop. I did. My mom, we always had a radio on. We had transistor radio in the kitchen, on the kitchen counter. So I listened to pop music. I listened to, I'm 1960s. I listened to the Doors. I listened to the Stones. I listened to all the pop bands. But what really got me going and interested in drumming and music, aside from pop music, was big band and orchestrated music. I loved Burt Bacharach and Dionne Warwick because I appreciated her voice. I really appreciated his songwriting, and I love orchestrated music. I love going to the orchestra. I say it all the time. I love going to Cleveland Orchestra. And so that combination was just like really intelligent songwriting, the collaborative of it.
Mhm.
And big band I liked. I liked Count Basie. I love the groove of Count Basie's orchestra. Again, Count Basie's orchestra. As far as drumming goes and drummers, I never studied anyone. It wasn't like, oh, I want to play like him. I want to play like him. I want to play like him. I never ever studied anyone. I always was my own. I studied music, and the whole of it. Vocals. There were times in Burning Sage, and I laughed that I would not pay attention to what Lynn was singing until we got into the studio, and I'd be like, oh man, those are cool lyrics. Because to me, I'm not interested in lyrics. I'm not. It doesn't, the lyrics don't move me. It's the music that moves me. And so, again, I never really studied one drummer. I appreciate Bonham. Neil Peart's a god, Neil Peart, Rush drummer. He was, the best of the best. And I don't see how anyone could even want to challenge that. Those are probably it. I like Metallica real well. I love the whole of Metallica. Lars. Yeah, but I don't study anybody. Never did. I just do my thing. I always did my own thing. And when it comes to the drum set, the kit, I dragged all those drums around, and people would always think, why are you dragging all those drums around? I always had a big kit, and it wasn't for show. It wasn't because I wanted to flap my wings. It was because that is how I hear the drums. I wanted the different tones of the tom-toms to create melody with the drum set. And that is the purpose of why I had so many toms, was because that's how I heard drum music, is melodic. The kit. I turned the drum set into a drum orchestra, and that's patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what? I have another question for you.
Yeah.
What is your spiritual tradition?
I label myself, if I have to label myself, I don't care to label myself, but I would say definitely earth-based.
Okay.
Pagan's a good umbrella term. So yeah, I'm a pagan. Am I Wiccan? I wouldn't class myself as a Wiccan because I follow a lot of native traditions. I'm solitaire. So again, do my own thing. Sue is just Sue, and I do my thing. So I've read about Druidism. I've certainly practiced and worked with some Wiccans. Some of my own solitaire practices lean Wiccan for sure, absolutely. So if I was going to be close to any one, I would say Wiccan. Yeah.
Very cool. Very, very cool. It seems like you have a lot of history with gigs within the pagan community. Is there any one gig pagan community that is the most memorable?
I have a few. I do. I have a few. And the ones that are most memorable are the ones that I'm most appreciative of.
Okay.
The people that have supported me in all of my different projects, and again, Melissa and Alfred, they have been very supportive. The Brushwood community, I could call the matriarch of Brushwood and say, hey, I have, and this is true. I have said, I've called them in, or, and said, hey, I have a new project. Can I bring it in? Sure. Super appreciative. Brushwood community is great. All of the people there are great. The family, the guy and gal that have done Burning Sages videos, they're Brushwood people.
Mhm.
The guy that created my drums, my drum crafts person, I met him at Brushwood. So I have a lot of history there. Um, uh, yeah, and Heather at Earth Warriors. I mean, I can go on and on and on and name drop people, but Earth Warriors is another wonderful community. Heather's the same way. Heather, I've been to Earth Warriors with 3 different projects.
Mhm.
And great people. They're just really, really good people. All of the pagan community is great. I have never had a bad experience. To be honest with you, I mean, it's just everybody's great. Everyone treats you well, and Starwood folks, they're local. The Starwood people, again, I can go on and on name dropping the Starwood community. Huge nucleus of Starwood is Clevelanders.
Mhm.
Great people. They've always treated me really well. So yeah, everyone, just everyone.
Have you ever performed out of the continental United States?
Yes, I've been to Canada. I've played Canada.
Cool.
That was crazy. That was back in the 80s.
Mhm.
Played Canada. We played Niagara Falls, Canada. This was when I was touring full time. I mentioned to you I was signed exclusive. I had an exclusive signed contract
Mhm.
back in the 80s, and we had a show in Niagara Falls, Canada.
Wow.
And we used to tour with, we had a box truck, was our equipment truck.
Mhm.
And we had 3 vehicles. We had 2 cars. We had a van, a station wagon. Our lead singer and her husband, they had a Delta 98 Oldsmobile station wagon. And that's my boy. And there's twins that are playing out front. So they drove, they were married, stuff. And so they hung out in their station wagon. And then we had a van, Chevy van, and then we had an equipment truck. And we were coming up from Indiana, I think, or Illinois, and somehow we got crossed, and the equipment truck ended up at the tunnel, and the van and the station wagon ended up at the bridge, and we had to have work visas and
Oh wow.
papers and all kind. We had to get our gear inspected. That was a pain in the ass.
Mhm.
And then so we connected, and then we're driving on the main, and I don't remember the number, but the Canadian highway that takes you from from Detroit over to Niagara. And our equipment truck, something happened to the engine.
Mhm.
and we ended up sleeping in a rest stop, a truck stop, and had to rent another vehicle. And then we ended up being a day late. So it's not all glory. It's, you see all the glory on stage, but the touring is rough sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, it can be
Hard
rough.
work.
It's extremely hard work. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow. So is there any other pagan musicians within our community that you've worked with exclusively that are memorable in the same context?
That I worked with? No, I really haven't worked with any other musicians other than my bandmates.
Okay.
Ginger
So
and
that
I,
was
yeah,
Ginger.
Ginger and I, we chat. Ginger's supportive, and I support
Exactly.
her. And
Wow.
I've played drums on a couple of her songs on
Very
her
cool.
new record coming out. I've played on a couple of Hanky's.
Okay, you said new record coming out. What's
Yeah.
the name of that record? So it's unreleased?
It's not ready. Yeah, it's not ready yet. That's Ginger's record. I played on Ginger's record.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't even know the name of Ginger's new record. I don't know. I don't think she's ready. Actually, her record is ready except for me. She's waiting for me to do one more track.
That's really cool to know.
Yeah.
Really cool to know.
Because I talked to her a couple days ago, and she says, I'm ready. I'm pretty much ready with everything, but I need you to do one track for me. And so I was going to try to do that for her this weekend, which I did not do. It's going to have to be this week coming up. But yeah, no, I really haven't worked close with any other pagan artists.
Mm-hmm.
I have not.
Yeah.
If somebody wants me to give them a hand, I'm available.
Right, that's very cool. So you've had a long history with pagan community as far as gigs, festivals, traveling around. From the, I want to say, for at least, 2 decades, you would say.
In the pagan community, yeah, since my first pagan gig,
Mm-hmm.
I want to call it classified a pagan gig. My first pagan gig was 2003.
Okay.
2003, Starwood. At Starwood was my first, if you want to call it, official pagan gig.
And which leads me to my next question. Within pagan community, there is a new genre that seems to be surfacing, and it's pagan hip hop. Now, back in the older days, let's say, the 2 decades that we're referencing with your pagan music, what do you think? What do you think about that genre surfacing within the pagan community?
I think it's when I first became aware that there were a few songwriters out there going to do hip hop music, I was not surprised at all, because that is mainstream music.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't surprised. We need to keep the pagan traditions, and we need to keep what do I want to say? How do I want to say this? We need to keep, here's the thing, I am now a crone, hard to believe. It's hard. I look in the mirror and go, hard to believe I am now a crone. And we need to keep younger people involved, and we, it's time to pass the torch. As far as music goes, I'm going to play music. I'm going to play drums until people don't want to hear me anymore. And then I'll play drums for myself. But, but we need to keep open, and we need to keep growing. And if the younger people and mainstream music is hip hop, and our younger generation, and even middle, whatever age, so we don't have to pigeonhole or classify age brackets, but if that's where people are going, then why not?
Right.
Why not? And that is the blessing of, like, if you dial into IPR, that is the blessing, because you'll have your very traditional Celtic artist, and the next song could be, a band that's hard rock, and the next song could be something whimsical and earthy, and the next one could be primal rhythm, all drums. The next one could be hip hop, and so that's the blessing of our music, and we're open, and that's who we are as community as well. We're open, and we don't deny people for being themselves. And sure, so yeah, to repeat myself, I was not surprised, and it's sure, why not?
Brilliant. In the comment section, we have a Brian G. Henke, and I desperately apologize if I pronounced the last name wrong. It seems to be a colleague, maybe somebody that you work with. He said, "Hi, Sue."
Hey.
And he goes on to say, "Yes, she is a star drummer."
Thank
so
you.
My dissertation on Sue Balaschak seems to hold merit. Brian goes on to say, "The work she did with me was brilliant."
Thank you. Yeah, that's Brian. And Brian is a brilliant finger picker, guitarist. Brilliant.
Nice.
So if you've never had the pleasure to see him live, stuff you hear on the air is fabulous. Watching him perform live is a real treat. Yeah. But thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by.
I got another good one for you. This is an interesting question. For the new
Raymond, go ahead. Okay, sorry about that. Okay,
that's fine. They call me the lone wolf. It's okay.
Right?
For the newer musician within the pagan community, especially, what advice would you give to them?
New musicians?
Yep.
Okay. New musicians. You guys have it rough. So that's not starting good, but it's rough out there. It really is. Be ready, be open, keep plugging away. Have your the good thing is the younger artists, they're on top of media, whereas me, Raymond, hey, quiet, buddy, come here. For me, there are times when I need to ask somebody to do something. Like, I have somebody do my website. I can't do my website. Mm-hmm. And so that is for younger artists. You guys are more on the ball with marketing and media. So social media, maneuvering. I would not be able to do this here. What we're doing, it's like, I even had to text you. Okay, how are we connecting? Let me know. So that you guys definitely have the advantage of. My advice would be not spend all of your time on social media and work on your chops. Work on if you're a guitar player, drummer, keyboardist, or whatever. Sometimes you get so involved in the social part that you set aside your musicianship. So try to find that balance. And just keep plugging away. And networking's huge. You guys have the advantage. Back in the day, we had to get on the phone. Even when I was driven with Burning Sage just 20 years ago, I'm on a computer and stuff like that, but it wasn't like today. So you have that advantage. And decide that balance of songwriting, marketing, Um, do you record at home? Is your home recording quality enough? Is it what you want, where you want it to be?
Right.
That too. That can be questionable. So sometimes it is good to go out and ask a veteran, what do you think? Can you listen to this? What do you think about it? How be open for criticism. And it's okay. It's okay for to have the truth.
Right.
It's okay. It's and learn from it and grow from it. But like asking me about hip hop. If that's what you do, be true to yourself. And that was one thing. I was always true to myself. Burning Sage as a whole, as a product, when we were up and coming, we were always true to ourselves. And there were times when we felt that people either loved us or didn't like us at all. And
Right.
that's okay. If we were and that's why our last record is true to form. We're always stayed true to ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. So we have Sue Balaschak, Primal Rhythm, Burning Sage, front cover of Witch's Brew magazine.
Right.
I'm live at White Raven, home of Three Gates Festival. Man, this is good stuff. I mean, we are doing it right now, man. This is great stuff. This is great stuff.
Well, thanks for all the questions. They were great, and I babbled way too much, but it's
terrific.
I love sharing. It's what it is.
Before we go, I got to know a couple more things.
Go ahead. I got all night.
More things. Okay. Do you have any new projects, new albums personally that are going to be released this year?
This year?
Yep.
It's February. So yeah, I could do something this year. I had to think about actually I am 3/4 of the way done with a new single, but it's a 30-minute single. And I got the idea from doing the radio show, and my solo discs are drum circle workshop type music. And I thought I created, and again, I'm 3/4 of the way done, a 30-minute, I'm going to put out a 30-minute single. So if you buy, it's going to be as long as a record, a full-length record, but it's one drum circle, so people can plug it in, download it, and they can have 30 minutes of nonstop music, nonstop drumming. I'm excited about it. It's pretty cool. I have some really cool rhythms in it. I have some really cool percussion coming in and out, weaving in and out. I do not have a name for it yet, but I will. So put a timeline on it. I'd like to have it in April, so we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll
New fans, old fans, where can we find your stuff?
Primalrhythm.net. Primalrhythm.net is the website. Purchase stuff through there. There's a CD Baby link. But CD Baby carries all of Sage and Primal Rhythm stuff. So, or if you want a hard copy, if you actually want an actual disc, some people still like to have a disc. Hit me up. I'll mail one to you, because CD Baby is single downloads now. You can do an album download or a single download, but they don't do any hard copies any longer. But yeah, I have them, and I'll mail them out to you, no problem.
Very cool. That's really personal with your fans. I like that. It's very cool.
One.
Yeah, we need one.
Yeah.
Can we get it autographed?
Sure.
Whoa. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Something
So, Primal Rhythm.
Yeah. Can I add something?
Yep.
I sell drums. So and sometimes people don't realize that I sell drums.
Mhm.
And I know when I was initially interested in getting a djembe, it was like, well, where do I get one? Do I have to wait till I go to festival in the summer and hopefully someone's there that has one?
Mhm.
So anybody interested, I do have djembes. I have Ivory Coast, Ghana, Mali, djembes, different sizes. Everyone's handcrafted. Everyone, yes, they're handmade drums. Yeah, they are handcrafted drums. Goat heads, handcrafted. Everyone's individually handcrafted. Really nice drums and different wood. I typically have maybe 10, anywhere from 5 to 10 drums. I sell cases, really nice mud cloth cases, and they're from West Africa as well. I have straps, so people that want to, it's hard to find a strap. So I have straps for people, djembe pullers, and it's all on the website, variety. So hit me up if you're interested in a drum. We can do FaceTime. I can show them to you. Hey, these are what I have. If you live local, you can swing by the house and try them out. So yeah, hit me up.
Very cool. I didn't know that about you at all. That's
Yeah.
that's really good info.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm touring, I typically have a handful with me. I don't vend per se, but when we're loading gear, I'll throw a handful of drums. So if anyone wants them, I have them. Yeah.
Really, really cool. So, in closing, do you have anything else you would want to say to your fans?
Other than I truly appreciate all the support, because as mentioned, without a fan base and without people listening, musicians really don't have that purpose, and it's recognizing that it is a gift, and putting that gift in a form that we can give back to community, and also fulfill who we are as a person, is truly a blessing. And to me, playing a gig, I've played in front of 20,000 people, and I've played for 5 people, and those 5 people are just important to be there for me than playing for 20,000 people. That was put into perspective a long time ago for me, and I never take it for granted. But yeah, each and every person, I want to be approachable, and so always hit me up after the show. Before the show is a little difficult for me because I'm getting my head ready for the show. But after the show, feel free to come up and chit chat if you want, talk drums, talk whatever. I'm available. So totally appreciate all the listeners. Absolutely.
In the comment section, Lindsay, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
And Sue Balaschak does have drums for sale. And wouldn't it be a blessing to get one from one of the best drummer in the pagan community? I think that would be a grand idea.
Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that, Harold. That's quite an honor to be called that. I appreciate it.
Sue Balaschak, everybody. Primal Rhythm, Burning Sage. I'm the Lone Wolf. This is Monastery.
Hey.
We're live from White Raven. We're signing off, and we love you. Sue Balaschak loves you. Merry part to all. Namaste.
Thank you.